Welcome back. I'm Michael. You are listening to The Michael Dresser Show. Rob Basso with us. He is the author of The Everyday Entrepreneur, and we're going to talk about the recipe for entrepreneurial success. He's a recognized business leader. He's a sought-after speaker. He's a published author. He's an everyday entrepreneur with a mission, and let's call it a passion, to help small businesses navigate their way to success. And by taking risk and reward, taking risk and developing creative concepts, he's built a reputation as a successful entrepreneur. He's committed to assisting others achieve their American dream. The list of achievements: he's founder of Advantage Payroll Services, investor of small Broadway shows, founding investor on Empire National Bank, and the creator of the Basso on Business.com. And he's been on. He's got the innovative series of educational DVDs, the Everyday Business Building DVD series. He's a frequent guest on Fox News, Fox Business News, and the list goes on. Hey, Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Wow, every time I hear that resume, it's like, is that really me?
I say, yeah, you have to ask yourself the question, and what do I do in my spare time?
Well, my wife is always, saying you accomplish more before 10 a.m. than most people probably accomplished in 4 days, and somehow I love it. I guess what gets me up every morning.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody once said to me, "What are you going to do when you retire?" And I said, "What do you mean retire? I don't work." And when you love what you do, it's really not work. But I think especially the subject matter that we're dealing with right now, that word entrepreneur. 50, 60 years ago, an entrepreneur was something completely different than the entrepreneur today. The same desire, some of the same motivation, but the key is it's the challenges that the entrepreneur has today as opposed to what that entrepreneur had 15, 20, 30 years ago. With the Obamacare, this list goes on. So realistically, you need a path. You need some kind of a roadmap to get to where you want to be if you're going to get there. Otherwise, if you take somebody who decides they want to be an entrepreneur, they're going to go into business, and unless they have somebody holding them by the hand, some mentor, they're going to be in trouble.
Well, it's more than just wanting it. When we were speaking about how we like to get up in the morning and do what we do, a lot of that's about picking the right business sector, picking the right thing that you really think you're going to be good at. I spent a lot of my career running from the things that I was good at to try to get better at things that I was awful at. Yeah. And you know what I found out? That was a huge mistake. And when I refocused on the things that I was really great at, things seemed to go a lot better. And it's not that I'm against trying to learn new skills. It's just, sometimes really focusing on your genius and picking the things that you're really good at is a pathway to success, and I think a lot of people forget that.
Sure. And when you recognize it, when you get up in the morning, what you're doing is it's a lot of self-expression, the businesses that you're in, the places you go, the people that you talk to. This is actually, it's Rob, any way you look at it. If it was something that you just picked to do, it would be something you were doing, but it would not be who you are manifesting in the business.
Well, if we look at my main business, where I've made the majority of my living for the past 17 years, it's a payroll and human resources company. And on the surface, it's not very sexy and exciting, but you know what's exciting and interesting about the business? The business part of it, the actual connection between your clients and actually providing something that's of value and helping them through their day. If you look at it in those terms, writing paychecks and figuring out laws, it gets much more exciting. And it's depending on your attitude, how you look at things. When I first started in this industry, I didn't even know what the industry was. I didn't do it the way that I would do it now. I kind of fell into this, but all the subsequent opportunities I've had, I've really, really been very careful about the types of businesses I've decided to get into because I wanted it to be an expression of myself. So you're right on target there, Mike. You're right on target.
Yeah, because what it really comes down to when you talk about human resources, all of human resources is communication. And I'll give you a prime example of that. I've done consulting on and off all my life. And even when I was like 6 years old, I was a little small, but they listened. But when there's times I've gone into a business, sat down with the CFO, CEO, COO, whoever, and I said, okay, your immediate subordinate, write down what their job is. And then I would go to the subordinate and I say, okay, write down what your job is. Rob, 11 out of 10 times, it was never the same thing. And there's where the excitement starts. It's creating the communication, creating the bridge to understanding where people are moving in the same direction and focus, and they're on target and they get what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. One of the other things I always talk about when I'm out doing public speaking is your personal brand. It's defining who you are and what you stand for, and it doesn't matter what industry or you as an individual can set yourself apart from anybody doing anything with your own personal brand. And I think now more than ever, when entrepreneurs are getting started with the advent of the internet being just almost a leveling in some cases of the playing field to make it easier for people to start businesses, you still need to put your personal touch and your personal feeling on it, because there's all this talk about being a genuine individual, putting yourself out there in a genuine way, because people see through it when you're not a genuine individual. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that are looking to get started now need to have that authentic look and feel and really mean it, because otherwise the general public is not going to buy from them. They're just not going to buy their product or their brand because they are the brand.
True. And when you come down to it, there's a whole new consumer out there, the general public. There's an e-consumer. It's not the same consumer we had 10, 15 years ago. So they come on a different playing field. They know more than the person knew 10, 15 years ago, the ideal customer, and so on and so forth. One of the ways I found with branding, and a great way to find out, you can go to somebody, spend $20,000, $30,000, maybe never find out. I don't know. It doesn't come from me, and it doesn't come from the person who's actually doing whatever service it is or having the product. You get 15 or 20 people, and you have them read your book, use your product, participate in your service, whatever the case may be. And a very simple question. The question is why me? Why did you listen to me instead of someone else with anything similar? When you start to get an overarching theme, then you quote unquote sell forward with that. And effectively, let's say your presentation is on 3 colors, green, red, and yellow. You ask 15 people, what color stimulated you the most? 10 people say green. Now, 2/3 of your audience want to hear about green. The next morning, you're in front of 1 million people. What are you going to talk about? Green. And I really believe...
You're not talking about purple.
Absolutely. And I think when it really comes down to it, your branding begins with those people who are buying from you.
Well, I also think there's a misperception of risk and what that means in being an entrepreneur. A lot of young entrepreneurs and even middle-aged entrepreneurs that are breaking out on their own, they come to me and say, well, I went to a bank for this loan and they wouldn't give it to me, and the bank said, well, what are you putting into the business? And they're like, well, nothing. That's why I'm coming to the bank for the loan. And for some reason there's this disconnect or misconception about risk.
Yeah.
To be an entrepreneur, you have to take that risk. And, I can tell you countless stories, not only my family members, but people I know. They mortgaged their house. They sold their car. They did whatever they needed to do to put themselves in business. And I think one of the bigger overarching themes for your audience is that, you need to be willing and able to take some sort of risk. Otherwise, you can't be classified as an entrepreneur.
Sure.
That's part and parcel of being an entrepreneur. And sometimes I still find it surprising that people don't understand that part of it.
Yeah, no, by the way, I think a great answer to the bank when they say, what are you putting in? Just say, I'm putting me in, and if I don't pay you back, are you going to want you to be calling you 10 times a day?
Well, unfortunately, the bank still wants some more backing than that.
Yeah.
Your word would be, wonderful, but one of the things that I got involved in 5 years ago was he started a de novo bank, and we've got about 6 branches now. I actually was fortunate enough to see the whole process of what it takes to start and form a bank and actually how that works and how they make money. Quite fascinating. That's a whole other topic of conversation, but especially in today's banking environment, it hasn't gotten drastically better. The money is not free-flowing yet. It's better than it was 2 years ago, but it's still not where it needs to be.
But there's the point. It's not free-flowing, but the money is there. And I think, and the key is, how do you get it out of there?
Right.
I think that's more important.
I mean, it's a big part of it. I mean, the bottom line is, especially with traditional financing, cash flow repays the debt. You need to prove some sort of cash flow, or I have an asset to pledge against the money that a bank or a traditional financial institution is going to, put up. Or you have to go to friends and family or go to the VC community. But, in the region that I live in, and I live in the New York tri-state area, very little VC money was spent in all of 2012 and not very much in 2013, to really back these companies. We've got a real problem, at least in our region, with people putting up cash to do these kinds of things. It is a little bit harder now because everybody's cagey. It's a tough market out there, even though things are getting a little bit better. You mentioned earlier, between Obamacare and all the regulations that are crushing small and medium-sized business owners and making it more difficult to run, people are a lot more careful where they put their money now than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah, see, at night we used to be afraid of ninjas. Now we're afraid of masked IRS agents.
But it's true, and
Sure.
it's horrible that we're citizens and we have to be subjected to, obviously the recent IRS debacle, and then the tapping of the phone records of the AP,
Sure.
and I mean the list goes on and on and on. This is the thing that entrepreneurs and small business owners are up against. But one of the things that I found that I helped with me when I first got started in my business, I wouldn't have called him a mentor then, but I think he certainly is a mentor now. He's my business partner. He was in his 50s when I met him, and I was broke, and I came up with a great business plan. We got along. He lent me the money. He's now still my 50% partner, but over the years it really turns out that he was a great mentor. He stopped me from making stupid mistakes, and I was fortunate enough to have someone travel with me all these years and help me out. And I think everybody needs to seek somebody like that out, whether it's a business partner, whether it's a high-level consul, a group of people. It's vital to business success nowadays, especially with the changing environment that we live in. You can't know everything.
No,
and the minute you think you know everything, you're dead.
Absolutely. And I really believe when it comes down to it, the mentors are so critical. They're the people who have been there and done that. They've fallen on their rear ends. They've gotten back up. They've fallen down. They've gotten up, and they finally got through the system. So they allow you to anticipate the problems before they're going to happen. Let me tell you one of the big problems that I have seen in the economy and in the workaday world, let's call it, and why entrepreneurs are having some of the problems. Those that have employees. About 6-8 months ago, I was at the gym. I'm working out, and I finished, and I wanted to get some protein powder. So I walked over to the area where they had the protein powder. They didn't have any. So I went up to the desk, and there was a young woman there, 18, 20 years old, somewhere around there, college age. And I said to her, "Do you have any protein powder?" She said, "No." And I said, "Do you have the website I can find it at?" So she gave me the manufacturer's website. I said, "Well, what about your website?" She says, well, you don't want to go there because if you buy it from there, all they're going to do here is make a profit. Make a profit. Now, and that is where the problem is. Some of the people that we hire today have that mindset, and they, in and of themselves, they stop progress.
That is a really good point. That is a perfect example of the challenges that all businesses are facing, especially with the staff that they hire as well. But I've been able to get up, and it sounds like you've been able to get up every day. And some days there's good days, some days there's bad days,
Sure.
and you need to find out what really motivates you to get up in the morning. And one of the things that I get a chance to talk about all the time are what are those motivating factors which drive you, to want to be self-employed, to want to be entrepreneurial, because it certainly is the most risky and tends to be the most stressful path you can take. You can go get a job and, collect your paycheck and leave at 5 o'clock and punch out, but that's not generally the kind of person that wants to get into business for themselves. And, for me, I always felt like I've been internally motivated, but I found now I've just turned 40 this past year. In some sense, you change. My basic personality hasn't changed, but the things that are important to me have changed. So, some of my motivating factors and the reason why I do things are different than they were when I was 25 years old.
Sure.
And that's fine. So you need to realize what those motivating factors are for yourself and gravitate towards those and use those to your advantage and get rid of the dead weight. I mean, I spent a lot of my time, pushing myself in the right direction for the right reasons. And entrepreneurs are notorious for beating themselves up incessantly. Sometimes you just got to let things go and move on.
But you said it early on, and I said it in a different way. The one thing that you and I have in common, and an entrepreneur has in common, and the people that are moving. See, what we're doing it for is obvious. Money comes with it, whatever else comes with its success, but it's self-expression. And I'll bet if you peel down any entrepreneur that was motivated, you'd find that whatever they're doing is self-expression, and it's accomplishing something out there, whether it's helping somebody, doing this, doing that, whatever the case may be. But I really believe that commonality of that certain something, that driver, is self-expression.
It's self-expression, and for me, part of the thing that I always found that worked very, very well for me, and it's going to sound obvious, and you hear this from, every expert or any, successful, person, is you got to set goals. And without those goals to attain, I remember 4 years ago when I said, I want to get some more television work. I want to be able to be on some of these national news programs. I didn't have any connections to anybody in the television business. I even have a full-time publicist. At the time, he wasn't able to get me on television.
Yeah.
So I used my network, and I asked every single person in any situation, do you know anybody that works at this network? Do you know anybody that works here? You know what? I found somebody, and it didn't take me very long because I kept opening my mouth about it. I met an executive producer at Fox.
Yep.
He liked me. He'd seen some of the public speaking work that I've done, and I got one chance on their show, and I've been a regular for the last 3.5 years on all their major programs. And, I had a goal. I said, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make it happen, and I didn't stop until I made it happen. Here's the crazy thing. It only took me 90 days to get my first chance. From the day I started actually actively working on it, too many entrepreneurs, I'm not saying you can't fly by the seat of the pants here a little bit. Believe me, there was plenty of that in my career, and there will probably be plenty of it to come. But I have these overarching goals, and too many entrepreneurs don't set those. They go about their day in a willy-nilly fashion, and they don't set their priorities. For me, that was the biggest thing that kept me on track with all the different things I have going on in my life. And, entrepreneurs tend to be, not all of them, but a lot of them tend to be scattered. They get their fingers in lots of different things, and sometimes it's hard to keep it all straight. But if you have these overarching goals in mind, you tend to be more successful.
And then the next step to that, and you said it all, then the mentor.
Oh, yeah.
The go-to guy. Yeah, no, I gotcha. Hey, Rob, we're starting to run out of time now. Let me ask you this. Website
Great. We
can find you, get the book, and follow along with what you're doing.
Okay, the best place to check me out is Basso. It's Basso onbusiness.com. BassoOnBusiness.com. That's the website I built for entrepreneurs and small business owners to get information, see what's going on in the world of entrepreneurism and small business, offer tips and advice. You can buy my book there called The Everyday Entrepreneur, which is published by John Wiley & Sons. But anywhere you buy books online, you'll be able to find The Everyday Entrepreneur.
Dynamite. Hey, Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye.